welcome to our podcast, our fifth episode, and we have some special guests today. We have retired Judge Arkin and Amy Goscha, who are big driving forces in the LLP program. Why don't you two introduce yourselves a little bit? Judge Arkin, you want to go first?
Sure. Angie Arkin, I was a lawyer for 17 and a half years and then took the bench as a magistrate in what is now, well, back then it was the 18th Judicial District, Arapahoe, Douglas, Elbert, and Lincoln. And I sat in all four counties over 15 and a half years, 2 years as a magistrate, and then the rest as a district judge. Um, Mostly did domestic relations because I had been a domestic lawyer before that, mostly in my career. And everybody didn't want to do domestic. So guess who got to do domestic? And when you go in front of enough judges who really hate it, you learn that if you don't hate it, you're a much better judge to do it than the judges who really, really hate it. Um, I am going to say that the amazing woman who is also on our screen, Amy Goscha, was my fantastic law intern in 2006 in both Arapahoe and Douglas counties. And in 2008, she came back and was my law clerk for about 6 months until Kim Willoughby snatched her back up. Amy had committed to me for a year, and Kim came begging and said, "She's so amazing. Can I please have her?" And I was like, if you must. And then Amy and I um, created a family law class, an experiential learning class that we put together and taught at the University of Denver Sturm College of Law for 2 years in 2012 and 13. Um, Totally made me understand and respect just how brilliant Amy was. She would be teaching the class and she would be talking to the students about things that in a million years I never would have thought of. So, I mean, and now, of course, she's this amazing, successful family lawyer with her own practice. But she also very early in her career, which is one of the reasons I asked her to be co-chair of the LLP committee, was a big voice for unbundled legal services and access to justice. And she traveled around the state doing presentations. She created a workbook for people who were interested in doing that work through the Bar Association. I mean, she was a real innovator from the very beginning. So, in addition to being my mentee, she's also a colleague whom I respect a great deal. Sorry, Amy, I
Um,
introduced you sort of.
It's like you introduced her. This is like perfect.
exactly.
Amy, anything to
Yeah.
add?
Anything
Um,
to add, Ames?
yeah, I mean, I always tell people I started out my career and I was so lucky to have mentors like Judge Arkin and Kim Willoughby. Like it really did shape me into the lawyer, that I am and I want to give back. And it's been, an honor working on the LLP program. So thank you for having us today.
Thank you so much for being here. So, you both may know we are also very big football fans. However, our team is minus the Chicago Bears, and
the Green Bay Packers.
so it's very rivalry all the time. So
Very, very much.
we make that part of our podcast sometimes, aside from talking about LLPs. But you two shared also you're football fans, but I don't think it's the right team.
I mean, for locals, it is the right team.
But very big Broncos fans, I hear. Wonderful. No, this is perfect. Like people always think, why are you not Bronco fan? But this is just where the dice fell.
Exactly, exactly.
I
So,
grew up a fan of the Washington football team, so I
ah,
still hate Dallas with a passion.
oh,
I
oh,
think everyone hates Dallas unless you're a Dallas fan. I think that's just how it's just a rule.
I love it. Okay,
Yeah.
well, why don't we get into what we're here for?
So, Judge Arkin, we just wanted to get kind of from you, how did the program start from the beginning?
So I guess you could say it started with the Supreme Court. Um, and I'm not sure if Jessica Yates, who is the Attorney Regulation Counsel from the Office of Attorney Regulation, OARC, now also the Office of LLP Regulation. But I think she was having communication with Justice Melissa Hart. And I had known Justice Hart throughout the years for various reasons, but she was on the Supreme Court a real innovator. She wanted to see change. And so Justice Hart sent me an email and said, would you be interested in this idea of paraprofession to help people get through domestic relations? And when a justice emails you, unless it's something really beyond your capacity, you kind of say yes. So, and Jessica Yates kind of came on very early, and this was a discussion. We talked about Maha Kamal, who I had known for a number of years. She had been in front of me in court. So she became my co-chair. Maha and I co-chaired the initial committee, and the Chief Justice at that time entered an order appointing us, and that was February of 2020. Keeping in mind, of course, what
Whoops.
time
Uh-oh.
frame that is.
Yes.
So we put together a very small group. Um, it was me and Maha, and of course, Jessica Yates. Justice Hart was actually part of that initial group. When I say small, there were 10 of us officially, and then a couple people from Jessica's office, Jessica and her Dawn. Um, what's Dawn's last name?
McKnight.
McKnight, Don McKnight and Jessica. And so Don McKnight is the person who does all the exams and all the process related to and she's amazing. Both of them are amazing. So keep in mind that this licensure was going to pile a big amount of work onto them. And yet they were really interested, committed. They drove the process. They were the backbone. Awesome, awesome, amazing help. Dave Stark, who was and is still the chair of the Supreme Court Advisory Committee, who is also an amazing innovator himself and has been responsible for so many different positive changes in the law in Colorado, how we do, how we practice law in Colorado. There was Judge Taubman from the Court of Appeals, also again, very access to justice focused. Adam Espinoza, Judge Espinoza, who again also very access to justice focused. Heather Lang, who was a family court facilitator in Douglas County, who I knew, and I knew she would be thrilled to do this. And um, let's see, Becca Failer, who is with Legal Services, uh, family law practitioner, but only for domestic violence and low-income folks. Trying to remember who else was on that initial committee. Oh, I, I'm trying to remember if Katie Ellis was on it yet. I don't think she was. Um, but anyway, we had a wonderful group of folks, and for about 14 months initially, we probably we're working, I know I was working 10 to 20 hours a month, I mean, a week on this program initially. So we were doing research, we were reaching out to other states, so at that time, at least 75% of people involved in domestic relations had no lawyer, no legal advice. That's the issue. They had no legal advice. They had legal information that was available minimally to them, but you can't you can't figure out the way forward and figure out the best way to solve your own problems if you don't have legal advice.
Right.
So that was the reason that the Supreme Court wanted this program. Judges were drowning.
Yeah.
Litigants, families were drowning. Nobody could figure out how to get through this process. And when you look at the nurse practitioner model, that's really what this was. You know, people who had zero health care got this amazing, intelligent, thoughtful, motivated health care from providers who actually like humans.
Good comparison. I like it. Yeah, it's true.
So over that 14 months, we put together 12 pages of just an outline of what we thought this program should look like. And we just had little groups meeting, trying to come up with a blueprint. Literally, the Supreme Court um, approved our 12-page program 5 minutes after they got it
Oh,
because they had all read it and they were so supportive, 100% supportive. Then there were about 45 of us over the next 14 months or so. And Amy was one of the attorneys I reached out to over that first 14 months because she had experience practicing all the way to Aspen and back, and had just a phenomenal amount of rural court experience in Colorado. There were a number of other attorneys I reached out to get their feedback and thoughts about what we were going to propose. But Amy was very interested and very engaged and gave some wonderful feedback. So after the court approved the 12 pages, then we had about 45 people who volunteered and were part of working groups that created, I say 400 pages, it was 399 pages of detailed proposals to the Supreme Court.
wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And
That's a lot.
at that point, it really was for folks like me and Jessica and Dave Stark, probably closer to 15 to 20 hours a week. I mean, it was just so many things to work through. And Amy and Maha Kamal were co-chairs of the Education and Outreach Working Group because the state of Utah said, you know, if you don't publicize this from the get-go, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
one.
they did. The reason that so many people applied for this licensure early was because of Amy and Maha and the work they did to get the word out to the paralegal community, to the community at large. It was amazing.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Amy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think it was definitely a collaborative effort, something that we learned from another state. And so we specifically had an education and outreach subcommittee that we also reached out to the media and did several media interviews, including Judge Arkin. So I think that really helped kind of set the stage early for this is coming.
Yeah, I was just trying to think how we heard about it. I think it came through the paralegal group that we disseminated the information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And Amy and Maha's outreach committee, I was a member of that committee, but I wasn't the mover and shaker on that committee. They were the ones who collaborated very significantly with RAMPA, particularly
Mhm.
the Rocky Mountain Paralegal Association. But we were also talking to other states because Washington had a program that sunset in 2019, and we didn't want to fall into that trap. Um, and let's see, Utah was working on a program. It was almost done when we started. Um, but their program was somewhat different, and they gave us some words of caution that we listened to. And Arizona was also pretty active. And there were a bunch of other states that were looking at it. Oregon also had a program. Amy, do you recall how many Oregonians there are now? Because it's not
No.
many,
Yeah, it's not many. I don't off the top of my
probably
head.
20 or less.
I agree,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
about that.
And this is a few years in to the licensure. I
Right.
mean, we totally blew everybody out of the water with the
Mhm.
number of amazing folks like you guys who, you know, were excited and committed and really, really helped us get this off the ground.
I think another thing that really helped us get it off the ground, we also worked very closely with the family law section of the Colorado Bar Association. And we did presentations early on to make sure that we collaborated, with family law attorneys and other professionals. So I think that really helped because the family law bar was behind the program. It took some time to kind of get everyone to understand the capability of why we're doing this and how great it could be, but we got there, and I think that really helps because we started that really early on.
And it's true, people on the section, um, so um, Katie Lum, who is now Judge Katie Lum on the Court of Appeals, was one of the people who was involved in this. Magistrate, now Judge Lord Blagan, Dave Johnson from the family law section. So they were very involved in the ethics planning piece because they were very knowledgeable about both ethics and family law. And then we had groups that included just amazing family law practitioners like Amy and Maha and other folks who were very engaged in that. So
Good. So, when you guys were kind of going into this, did you guys have any vision on how many LLPs we were hoping to have, or were you just, let's see what happens? Was there a goal in mind?
Did we win?
yeah, as many as possible. You know, um, what is it, like 20 at that time, 22,000 cases were filed annually. I think we're up to 32,000 now. I heard recently in the legislature.
That's a lot of cases.
22,000 means 44,000 people involved, and that was pre-decree, keep
Mhm.
in mind. We never had numbers for post-decree. We're pretty sure a lot higher percentage of post-decree folks are without attorneys, without legal advice, or were without legal advice. So we knew there were just a ton of people, 75% or more of those people, and in certain places, jurisdictions that had fewer, um, well, just more folks who were closer to being indigent, couldn't afford lawyers, really struggling, out in the hinterlands where there weren't even very many lawyers, much less legal help of any kind. So, it was really as many people as we can get out there to help people.
Yeah,
Um,
that makes a lot of sense.
And what I know there's, a vision that you probably had in the beginning. What was that long-term vision? Like how many do we really, I mean, you said a lot, of course, but how can we improve this to get more out there for the access to justice, that bridging that gap, right? Obviously, we're recruiting and doing all the things from our level where we can get more LLPs in here, especially in our county, reaching out to other counties, trying to get LLPs in the rural areas. I think that's where the next kind of step needs to be. What was your guys' vision on this?
Amy?
I think our vision was that we understood that the first class we probably would have more because we would have very experienced people within the family law community, like the both of you, who would be applying for that initial class round. But we also, like we wanted to get as many people as we could, and we understood that it would take a little bit of time to, grow that. I think we exceeded our expectations, and that was really amazing. And what we're working on now is kind of replenishing that pipeline and helping people understand, even young students, that this is a career path for them and a profession. So we're really working on that and working with schools on education, at the high school level, the community college level. So I think, that's really hopefully helping kind of replenish that pipeline.
Yeah, Amy and I started going to paralegal classes at community colleges, I think in 2021 or 22. And we tried to talk to, folks who were going through paralegal school, but gosh, Amy and Maha and I and a few other people probably, oh, and Jessica, oh my goodness, Jessica goes and talks to everyone around the state every year, all the bar associations in the state. And so she was talking about the LLP program from very, very early on. And Amy did a ton of bar association presentations. And of course, Amy was on the executive council of the family law section. Maha ran and became on the family law section. And so it was very much, and of course, I was doing a lot of outreach to the bench and FCFs and Sherlocks. So we were trying to come at it from every aspect of the profession. But Amy and Maha were also trying to get on the news and get on articles and do a lot of um, outreach to the community. I don't know that we ever heard anything negative from the community about this licensure, ever. Um, And even when in 2022, when the Supreme Court allowed people to make comments before the hearing, um, we maybe out of 73 letters, we got maybe seven that were negative from lawyers, primarily family lawyers. Uh, Everybody else was really positive, and nobody came to the Supreme Court hearing saying anything negative except it's too limited, you need to expand it. And not only did we hear that from the people testifying, but we also heard it, surprisingly enough, from the Supreme Court itself.
And that
They
was
said,
before we even got licensed.
they said, we need to let these folks do more. This is too limiting. This proposal, you need to make it possible for people to do more. And that was the justices themselves who said that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and fast forward, we know that ended with the change in last year, December, right? So that's good. And that's what another question was, have you come across hurdles or pushback or negative feedback? I mean, you said there's not a lot, but in the whole process of building this program, what were some of the things that were said that were concerning, if you don't mind sharing? Um,
Amy, because Amy's been dealing with a lot more pushback
like,
personally.
and I
Yeah, I
know
mean,
you go ahead, sorry.
yeah, I think
So,
from family lawyers, them saying, like LLPs are going to take our business, which is just not even the truth. Like we are so busy with the people that we help that we can't even help the 75, 76% that LLPs can help. So that never came to fruition. a concern about the professionalism and will LLPs be ready to handle family and law matters. And Judge Arkin spent countless hours on the core competencies, the exam. Like I know that every LLP that passes that exam is competent. Yeah, and I think we've really focused a lot, and Judge Arkin can talk to this point as well. But I think just making sure that there is communication between the bench, the courts, LLPs, and family law attorneys, so there's a sense of professionalism. I think that there have been some comments about just professionalism and attorneys, making negative comments, that LLPs are not professional, which, I know is not the case. So I think we're just really making sure that, everyone is collaborative and is being professional. And that's one thing I've worked on the Family Law Executive Council. And it was really neat because this last kind of education outreach, like they did lunches with the Denver District Court and magistrates. And the family law section usually shows up, and Kath, who's the representative for LLPs in the section, she attended that luncheon. So I think it has helped like open up the conversation. So I think that's super important.
Yeah, we've seen that down here in El Paso County too, that, we've shared the stage with the family law attorneys and now we get invited to all of those things and the judges are always making sure that, they ask us questions or, get us involved. So it's been great. It's been
Yeah.
great.
And we're really trying to collaborate with everybody, so make sure that in our area and then reaching out to Denver and everyone also. So we're really out there trying to do the things. Um, yeah, now we're running out of time a little bit, so I think we're gonna have to wrap it up. But is there anything else you want to say about this wonderful program that we're so grateful for? You put so many hours and time in that we can sit here today and be LLPs.
Amy, what are we looking at going forward?
Looking at going forward, I think that we are looking at expanding what LLPs can do and possibly into other areas of the law. What I'm seeing is more active LLPs on cases. So I see that you are helping people, which is amazing. I also am seeing more LLPs go out on their own and practice as solo practitioners, which is really, really cool to see. So I think we're kind of in that progression of expansion, but also LLPs, mentoring up and coming LLPs, and just working alongside, attorneys as another professional that's helping, like Angie said, Judge Arkin said, families in need. Like that's why you're here, why I'm here, why Judge Arkin is here, is to help those families move forward. So.
And you guys have modeled a community and an engagement within that community that is so positive and uplifting and, networking and professionalism amongst you. It's really awesome what you all have taken on yourselves to promote the profession and to enrich one another and help one another move forward. It's quite impressive, frankly.
Well, we're
So,
very proud of it. So thank
Thank
you.
you. Yeah, yeah. And we try to also push the pro bono down here. We help with Legal Resource Day, Family Law Day, especially Family Law Day because we can do so much more for them now. And so we really try to be out there and helping the community for what this program was designed and encouraging everybody to do the same. So we
well, you're the best poster children there is for this program, frankly,
I
because you're
mean
so awesome, all
she's
of
still a
you.
Packers fan,
Oh,
but
Lord. Here we go.
it always comes out. All right. Well, thank you both so very much for being on this podcast with us this episode. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you
Thanks for
guys so
having us.
Of course, of course. Thank you both for all the work that you guys have done and continue to do. We're excited to see where everything goes in the future, and we're ready to take on more.
Yeah, just throw it at us, right?
All right.
Well, thank you so much, and we'll see the rest of you in the next episode.
Okay, thanks.